Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's Policy Manthan discussion. Today, I'll be coordinating today's conversation, and our topic is the educational landscape in the sister states. The seven sister states, as we all know, are Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura, and Sikkim, which are the northeastern Indian states. Similarly to our last session, we will be tackling the issue of education in a region, albeit at a much smaller scale. However, the states still have a population of nearly 30 lakhs. So educational policies and initiatives are still a very important aspect to tackle, as it will affect the future prospects and opportunities available in the area, as well as the general standard of living and obviously literacy rates. I hope we can have a productive discussion today, and I'd like to ask all the speakers to keep their cameras on and drop their names in the chat box if they're ready to speak. Alternatively, you can also raise your hand. Also, please restrict your speeches to 5 minutes only, as we keep the length of the whole discussion capped at an hour and would like to ensure everybody gets an opportunity to speak. So if anybody would like to start us off, please either drop your name in the chat box or raise your hand. Please go ahead.
Can I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Good evening, all. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak first on this very important and generally neglected topic, which is educational landscape in Seven Sisters state. So today my contemplation will be focusing more on how far the central government education policies reaching out to this easternmost region of India as compared to the rest of our country. So we all know that northeastern region of India has the most extreme topographical terrain, very hills and mountain ranges. Therefore, transportation in this region is quite difficult. But I think government has been trying time to time for its development from last since 2 years, and recently we all know that there was a golden jubilee celebration of Northeastern Council in Shillong, and government has its ministry called as Ministry of Development for Northeastern region. So I think there are major developmental issues in this region, such as lack of infrastructure and facilities, a sense of isolation from rest of the part of country, then ethnic diversity or political insurgency, then internal conflict and limited resources from central government. So I think Ministry of Development of Northeastern region has started some schemes which are related about education in this region. So first is Northeast Special Infrastructure Development. So this scheme was launched in 2017, but it majorly focuses on physical infrastructure like power, transportation, bridges, roads. But it also focuses on the social infrastructure like sanitation, health, education, and majorly primary and secondary sectors of education. Then second scheme is Special Scholarship Scheme, and its objective was to increase the gross enrollment ratio in Northeast region and to focus more on professional education in Northeastern region. And I have searched the website of Ministry of Education of 2020 and 21, and there is an annual report. So I have made some notes of its statistics. So can I open with your permission the notes?
Yeah, go ahead. One second. I'll just check if I can give you the. Okay, can you screen share now?
No, I have actually noted down.
Got it. That's fine.
Yeah. So there is an annual report of Ministry of Education of 2020 and 21. So first fact is that from 2014 to 15, elementary gross enrollment ratio is decreasing in these 7 states, but hopefully the secondary gross enrollment ratio and higher secondary gross enrollment ratio is increasing. because of, I think there are so many programs for these scheduled tribes or these people or students uh, over there, uh, programs conducted by AICTE or Undergraduation Commission, etc. And one more thing, there is a performance grading index in India. So there are some statistics about it, and its report is 2020 and 21. And there are 5 indicators of this performance grading index. First one is learning outcomes. Second one is infrastructure and facilities. Third one is equity, and last one is governance process. So these states, overall the 28 states of India, are categorized in levels. So there are 7 levels actually. If you look at the northeastern region, Arunachal Pradesh is the only state which stayed in level 7, and the performance of Arunachal Pradesh was very worst. Actually, its score is 651 to 700. But hopefully, Assam and Tripura were stayed in level 4, and their score was also good. But if we look at this statistic, all these 7 states has been improving a lot from 2017 and 18. If we look at the access domain, then Arunachal Pradesh got the top rank in this index. Then if we look at infrastructure and facilities, Meghalaya got the top rank, and the performance of Tripura, Assam, and Manipur was also very good. And if we look at the equity domain, I think this is the worst indicator of northeastern region, because Meghalaya's performance was good, but rest of the 6 states their performance was very worst. If we look at, and I think from my side there are two suggestions in educational policy of northeastern states. First one is that we all know the history of medieval India and ancient India, like Delhi Sultanate or Mughal period, then Akbar or Aurangzeb, but we don't know the history, culture, traditions, and norms of northeastern India. I think an account of land, people, history, culture, and other aspect of this region must be included in NCRT books and NCRT curriculum. And my second suggestion is that there is a need to extend to more digital connectivity and move towards digital inclusion of this northeastern region. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us all the different statistics that I think gave us a very clear view into where the 7 sister states are currently and where they were in the past. Isha, please go ahead.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. As we all know, that these sister states are the 7 northeastern states of India, and along with the usual problems related to education sector that most of the states in India face, these states face some other problems that are unique to them, specifically because of their geographical location. I have some statistical data with me as well. According to the National Achievement Survey 2017-18 report, one-fourth of the students of the northeastern states find it difficult to reach their schools due to the transportation problem they face. Many of the schools are located in the isolated areas and face several connectivity issues. This leads to the increase in the dropout rates of them. According to a report of Unified District Information System for Education 2020-21, Assam recorded the highest dropout rates in the country. It was 31% at the secondary level, and the states of Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh, and Mizoram have highest dropout rates in the country at primary level. Manipur has the highest number with 8.6% students dropping out at primary level. For Arunachal Pradesh, the number is 8.3%, and for Mizoram, the number is 8.1%. And for girls, the number were 8.2% at Manipur, 9.6% in Mizoram, and 6.8% in Arunachal Pradesh. These states have the worst dropout rates in the country. And when it comes to the enrollment ratios, the numbers are equally poor. In Nagaland, Nagaland accounts for the lowest enrollment ratio in the region with 7.8%. In Assam, the enrollment ratio is 18.2%, both below the national average. And according to a report of the All India Higher Education Survey 2017-18, the average gross enrollment ratio of this region is 25.4% against the All India average, which is 25.8. So this was the statistical data that I wanted to present. And as I said, that high dropout rates and low enrollment ratios, these are the problems that many states face. But in these 7 states specifically, the problem arises due to their geographical location and the natural hindrances. And if we look at the economic status of these states, they are not that much developed that they can resolve these problems by their own. So yeah, that was all that I wanted to say.
Thanks, Isha. I think you've raised a very valid point, especially at the end, where it may be essential for the central government to provide funding for these states to be able to lift themselves up. Again, guys, please drop your name in the chat box or raise your hand if you're ready to speak. I will not know who to call up. Please go ahead.
Hello, hi. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yeah. Your voice is cracking a bit. I'm not sure what the issue is.
Can you please tell me when my voice is fine? Because
Yeah,
I am
it's fine
having.
now.
It's fine, right? Okay, so we are today talking about the challenges faced by the 7 sister states, namely Nagaland, Manipur, Meghalaya, Tripura, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, and Manipur, basically the northeastern part of India. Okay, so before going to the problems, I want to share an experience.
Your voice has cut out again.
Am I
Your
audible
voice cut out.
still?
Yeah, now you're back.
Okay. So I was saying that I want to share experience, I think, which will help us understand the problem of education in the Northeast states better. So I'm in my PG right now, and there's a girl in my class who actually hails from Tripura. So see, masters is a platform where you're expected to know things. So this girl, she's from Tripura, and I was very shocked to know that she's done her UG in economics, but she doesn't know the basic things. Upon trying to help her, I just went to her and I said that if there's anything I can help you with. So then she said that throughout the 6 semesters that they've had, there was hardly any examinations. Like they were just passed, mainly because of the COVID. I'm not saying that every college is like that or something like that. Their evolutions were not very, what should I say, it was very internal based, or it was based on how you have the rapport with the teachers rather than taking a test. I think that is the kind of education system they believe in. Also during her school 11 12, there is no provision for private tuition, and there is no provision from aid, extra aid from the school, because see, not
Your voice cut out again. We lost you at aid.
am I not audible?
Yeah, now you're back.
I'm back. Okay. So this is what I've learned. So upon learning that, and now studying a little further, uh, what I found was there is almost no to very less educational infrastructure that that there exist in the rural areas. Even if there is some in the urban areas, there is, but it is not. They are inadequate. They do not have proper resources like proper labs and visual aids, computer labs. These things are not there. Then there is a problem of inadequacy in teaching. Teachers are not as efficient or qualified, and many a times teachers are appointed on the basis of, suppose there's some owner of the school and their relatives are hired, instead of looking for teachers who actually have qualification. And then there is poverty and ignorance for people in the hilly areas, and these people have a very hard time reaching schools because of the terrain and the roads, and the connectivity that these areas have is very bad. So reaching school or college becomes very difficult for the students. So what the government of India, the central government did, it introduced a set of policies in 2021 that is, that is expected to help these northeastern states. Number one is CBCS system. It's choice based credit system. We must be aware, because even in other states CBCS was introduced, and it evaluated many other aspects for evaluation rather than just writing exams. Then they established universities with potential for excellence. Then scholarship schemes were introduced, and a new methodology for grading by NAAC was introduced. The NAAC is the basic, uh, it is the grading that our colleges receive. And then there was credit framework for online learning through Swayam. Now, Swayam is a portal like we discussed last day. So the schools and colleges decided to give extra credit for students who took courses online through Swayam. And then there is minimum standards and procedure for awarding of MPhil and PhD degrees, basically higher degrees. So they wanted to promote higher education. These were the states, and the education sector has improved in the northeastern states, and I believe that there's a long way to go still. So what my recommendations would be that the government should invest more in education, primary, secondary, both. Also, awareness needs to be created in the students about the importance of education. And this doesn't stop here. Vocational trainings should be preached. It should be, it should be like, it should be made available, it should be easy to access, and most of all, there should be employment opportunities created. So I think that's all that I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I think you gave us you gave a lot of information on how the central government is tackling the. Sorry.
Okay, you're back. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
You gave us several methods that the central government is trying to actively push forward, giving some methods that they've taken to the problem that Isha had posed. Next, Khushi, please go ahead.
Yeah, so hello everyone. I would like to share my insights about what are the topographical challenges and climate conditions that affect the education in the northeastern states, and how the state government has helped it and how much it has evolved in the past few years. So to talk about northeastern region of India, it is highly vulnerable because of its location, its transboundary river basins, and socioeconomic instabilities. The threat of climate change has only heightened these vulnerabilities through flood, drought, soil erosion, loss of livelihood, and migration. Northeast India has a predominantly humid subtropical climate with hot, humid summers, severe monsoons, and mild winters. The region's high rainfall, averaging around 10,000 millimeters and above, creates a problem for ecosystem. Climatic conditions can impact schooling outcomes in various ways. In the most direct sense, for example, if there is an agricultural household, if it suffers loss to income and food security caused by floods, it may not have enough money to pay school fees for their children and may pull their children out of school to help in additional income. Now, if we come to the basic indicators of access, percentage of habitations and rural population having access to primary and upper primary schooling facilities within a distance of 1 and 3 kilometers are the basic indicators of access. Except Arunachal Pradesh, all the northeastern states have provided a primary school within a distance of 1 kilometer. However, compared to primary schools, upper primary schools are not easily accessible. In Assam and Tripura, upper primary schools are not provided within a distance of 3 kilometers. But we know availability of schools need not guarantee the adequate facilities. This also need not guarantee that children of different age groups are benefited and are enrolled in schools, which can be known only by analyzing enrollment over time. The enrollment in primary and upper primary classes have improved significantly. But enrollment does not guarantee that children are uh, going to school regularly. We face another issue. The NSSO attendance ratio reveals that a large number of children were not attending either first to fifth or sixth to eighth classes, that is, primary or secondary education. This suggests that rigorous efforts are needed to bring children under the umbrella of education system. Also, it was seen that a large number of children enter into the school system, but a majority of them drop out before the completion of primary cycle. The dropout rates at the elementary level suggest that it was as high as 73% in Tripura compared to 71% in Manipur and Mizoram. Thus, there is a need to improve the efficiency of the primary system. What our educational policies does, they are developed at the national level and are often driven by some overachieving goals. Such a top-down approach in implementing those policy on the ground, especially in specific region like Northeast India, needs a bottom-up restructuring. There is an urgent need to re-examine our education policies at the regional level to provide an environment where individuals can utilize their education and train to gain employment, improve their living standards, and contribute to the social development of the area. Thank you.
Thanks for the detailed and extremely informative look into various factors that you've mentioned. Next up, Kinori, can you please go ahead?
Yeah, hello, good evening. So I will like to begin with a few data sets which I found, and then I would like to give information about something which I feel is a big hurdle in Northeast India, that is the multiple languages which are spoken there, and also the border issues which also affect the education quality. So what surprised me, although it is not something new, is that 8.3% of the women have access to higher education in Northeast India and 12.6% men. And that is a very low rate compared to the average in the rest of Indian mainland. And I would like to give information about the multilingualism. In a normal school in Northeast India, for example, Manipur, at least 4 languages are taught. And in Manipur itself, they have 4 mother tongues. And this creates a hurdle, and this also creates hurdle for the students to not, and they have problems speaking English, which is mostly taught in other universities in India. And another information which I came across was, because Northeast India is so isolated and it is so diverse, and there are issues about topographical issues, they have problem integrating with the Indian mainland, and therefore there should be integration programs which I believe will help students of Northeast India to be more included in our policies. And there is also a lack of professional courses and vocational courses. Most of the students in Northeast India choose to study arts-based programs or humanities, which creates a crunch in science and technology, which is the need of the hour in our country. And therefore, courses based on agriculture and animal husbandry will also help. And last but not the least, there is something that the government has done, because there is a high dropout rate between lower primary and middle school. They have tried to merge both the levels so that the dropout rate decreases. That's it.
Thanks a lot. I think the last initiative you mentioned is very interesting, and we'll find out, of course, in the future if it will be an effective way to tackle the issue at hand. Kriti, please go ahead.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Kindly let me know if there are any disturbances in the background, all right? Thank you. So I'd like to begin with the origin of northeastern states that people seem to be very oblivious of. So it started with the Mongolian origin. They are not very homogeneous, like there is a heterogeneous composition of population there. So they are not very cohesive within each other. That is one of their historical, what do I say, a very major stage. And afterwards, when there was colonization. Even during colonization, northeastern states remained untouched. And post-colonization as well, since it's not a part of the mainland, it's segregated, it's like secluded from rest of the mainland. So it was never touched really. But then, as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was Article 26 in 1948, schooling became something very compulsory. It was counted as a human right. So, but the education system of India is actually following the British sort of education system, the education system that the Britain followed for a longer period of time. But as you know, that in 2020, NEP was introduced. But even with NEP, the concept remains the same. It's deeply ingrained with the concepts of the developed country, you know. Meanwhile, northeastern states are the states which do not even come into the category of developing states. As we know, because of their seclusion, they are separate from the mainland, and it owes to the entire topographical and climatic conditions that they are a part of. So the policies which are applicable in a developed nation are not going to work in states which are not even touching the mark of a developing state. Now, I would like to come to a few things. Like when we are talking about the universalization of education, there are three things that India and every other country is concerned about. First of them is the universal enrollment. Second is minimal dropout that they are trying to ensure. And the third one is, very interestingly, enhanced learning achievement with a minimum level of learning. So this is called MLL, minimum level of learning. So the up to a certain period of time, let's say 2008, the enrollment of Northeast India remained high. I mean, when we take out the average, it was higher than rest of the country. However, the dropouts were equally higher. So the rest of the country does not face so many dropouts as the northeastern states do. Now, there is a crunch to it. I'll be coming to it later. But before that, a few facts that I'd like you to know is that the dropout rates of girls in northeastern states is also high. And the female literacy rate, however, interestingly, is relatively better than a few states in India. So that is about it. And of course, as many people have already mentioned before, that secondary education becomes the terminal state of education for many students who are enrolled in education in northeastern states. Now, there was this Operation Blackboard, which was applicable in 5 states out of the 7 in Northeast, and it addresses the following issues that I'm going to mention, like underutilization of funds. The funds remain underutilized in many states. Probably, for example, I read in Nagaland, uh, more than 70% of the funds remain underutilized. And then there is vacancy of teachers' posts. Thirdly, the buildings were outrunning the time under which they were supposed to be constructed and started functioning. So that was about it. Now, coming to the dropouts, suppose this is a solution that I'm offering, a kind of proposal, I would rather say. Suppose if these underutilized funds are put in work to ensure that students are given free education, at least up to primary education. Like currently, the NEP says that it's 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, right? Suppose if the free education is provided up to 5 plus 3 years. So underutilized funds are coming to usage. Moreover, what we are doing here is that there is a connection between 3 important things like economy, education, and politics. Politics also comes under the umbrella of influences like geopolitical influence and then topographical influence. So I would sort of eliminate that right now because it's a socio-political scenario. I'll just carry on with economy and education for the time being. So suppose if we are strengthening the education part there, we'll eventually strengthen the economy, right? And as we strengthen the economy, the rates of dropout are more likely to drop down further. There will not be dropouts. I mean, it is a very basic idea, right? That the number of students who are dropping out of the institutes are mainly because of the economic crunch. That family is facing some sort of economical issue. That is why they've been dropping out. So if we make sure that we, strengthen each other, I mean, they mutually strengthen each other. So if we strengthen the education, there eventually be a boost in economy, and when there will be a boost in economy, the dropout rates will reduce. Now this was the first thing. Second thing, coming to the vocational part, which is going to be my last solution, of course. So there is this NERIV, I think it might be pronounced as. So it's called Northeastern Regional Institute of Vocational Education. So under this, there were many policies introduced. For example, NCRT tried to establish its presence in form of a regional institute of education in 1995. And what was it for? This particular institution made sure that they are going to boost the vocational education in this particular region. Now, there was a problem with the vocational education that the northeastern states and many states were facing, which was about funds again. So what did the government of India do? They made sure that they are going to provide the 100% funds which were required for the implementation of vocational education. That was to bolster the state government's incentive. Now, for the higher education as well, IGNOU, that's I think Indira Gandhi National Open University, they establish educational institutions. Why? To cater the distance education. So when we are thinking about distance education, it of course occurs to us that northeastern states are secluded because of their topographical region. But how do we connect them to mainland? By providing them distance education. If they have access to distance education, it means that they have access to higher education, despite the fact that they might not need to move there. Then there were multiple PG centers established, and there are also UGC branches, which is probably now located in Guwahati. And of course, all of us know about the Technical Institution of Guwahati. So vocational institutions do really need a special attention in northeastern states, as the government has been trying to do, because it will strengthen the economy again. However, there is one thing that I would like to put highlight upon, which remains unsolved, is the factor of developing and underdeveloped places. The NEP actually focuses a lot on how to function in a developed place. Meanwhile, the northeastern states remain very much underdeveloped. So if we can pull some strings and make sure that we make some tweaks and turns here and there and readjust it, the policy according to the regional ones, it might be more effective. That was it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Kriti. Catherine, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So the topic for this week's policy discussion is educational landscape in the seven sister states. So before we get into the education system, let us understand a little about the seven sister states. So one of the things is it is home to over 200 tribes. So it is a very tribal state. It has a lot of diversity in social as well as cultural as well as historical diversities. And also these diversities they result in a lack of integration. So there is a problem in inter-region wise as well as inter-region wise. There is always some conflict between them. And also northeast, it is predominantly an agriculture based society. It is also primarily rural, so that means only 15.5% of the total population they live in towns, while the remaining people they live in rural areas. So it is said that around 45,000 rural settlement units are there. So each rural settlement, that is about 90% of the rural settlement, they have less than 1,000 population needs. So this makes it very difficult to build schools or universities for them and also have a connect for them. And also, coming to the literacy rate, India's average literacy rate is around 77.7%. And actually, most of the seven sister states, they have a literacy rate higher than the average literacy rate. But the important question is the quality of education. Is that good? Are they employable? Now, that cannot be said with just the literacy rate. And also the dropout rate, as already mentioned by others before, it is quite high. And also the dropout rate for boys is much higher than for girls. Now, what are the challenges faced by these states? One of the challenge is, of course, lack of infrastructure. So there is also lack of physical infrastructure like uh, connectivity issues, roadways, energy, and all, and also social infrastructure such as education institutions, health facilities, and all. And also there is a lack of higher educational infrastructure in Northeast. So there's not
very good institutions in the northeastern states for higher education. And also there's a language problem, that is there are lots of different languages, so it is difficult to give a standardized curriculum and standardize the education system. And also there is minimal presence of industry. So what happens is after their education, youth they go to different states to pursue their higher education or to work, because there are not a lot of job opportunities in the state. And also there is a lack of teachers in rural areas, and also there's a poor family support, which is a major cause of frequent dropouts. And families also they prefer keeping their children engaged in household chores or agriculture work instead of sending them to education. So there needs to be more awareness to cause them to send their students, send their children to school. And also another reason for the dropout is said to be frequent school changes. And also there's less schools because of the scattered nature of the population. So because the rural population is less, and also
Catherine, you're muted.
sorry about that. And also another one of the problems is climate changes. So because most of them it is an agriculture based economy, when there's an uncertainty in the climate, that will affect their family, it will affect their incomes. There's frequent droughts, floods, and it's an unpredictable weather, which is leading to uncertainty in family, and they tend to not send their kids to schools. So some of the government policies that have been introduced are one is called the Northeast Industrial Development Scheme. So in this scheme, they are promoting industrialization in the northeastern region. So this will cause a boost in employment as well as income generation. So this will create more job opportunities. And also there is another policy called National Commission for Women. So this will support northeastern it gives like northeastern livelihood programs for women, especially for those in younger age group. So it will provide skill development and specialized training. So this will enable them to earn their living and also empower them as individuals. And also they are creating, building new institutes like the Technology Facility Center, the Northeast Institute of Science and Technology. So prominent institutes are being built to give more proper higher education to the students. And also there's another scheme called the Northeast Special Infrastructure Development Scheme. So this focuses on both physical infrastructure, that is projects related to water supply, power connectivity, and also social infrastructure, that is primary and secondary education as well as health. And also there is another policy called the Digital Northeast Vision Policy. So this it is to introduce digital technology to empower the lives of the rural people through digital means. So it provides digital infrastructure services and empowerment. They are aiming to give high-speed broadband connectivity to all the uncovered villages in the northeastern region. And also, of course, there's a national education policy, but the problem is it is not being well implemented in the northeastern states. And also, one of the reasons of the dropout of students is that the lower primary and the middle the secondary schools, they are different, they're not in the same school. So when once the students complete the primary school, they just drop out instead of changing to the secondary school. So one of the solutions they have provided is merging the schools, that is the primary and secondary schools merged, so that this dropout is lesser. And also there's a special scholarship scheme for Northeastern region called Ishan Uday. And also there is another Ishan Vikas scheme. So what this does it brings selected students from school and college levels into contact with IITs and NITs during their vacation periods. So this will be a motivating factor for the students.
Thanks a lot, Catherine. And since I think a bunch of people have mentioned the problem of having multiple languages, if anybody watching is interested in learning more, we had a session earlier this month on the medium of education in schools. It should be on the live stream section. Next up, Shraddha, please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, interns. Am I audible now?
Yes,
Krish, am I audible?
yes, you are.
Hello.
You are audible.
I listen. Oh yeah. So I listen to everybody's views, and I see that all of you are talking about the limitations of the literacy rates and what are the infrastructural limitations and challenges, but nobody talked about this issue. So I thought of talking about it a little bit. From the data which other interns have mentioned, it is clear that in educational terms, Northeast is faring best among all the states in India. The literacy rates are highest in northeastern states and maximum in Mizoram. But you see that online education is getting high because of the pandemic. And now, just recently, you see that COVID is soaring again up. But the Northeast is topographically very challenging and difficult. And because of that, the data connectivity or the internet is very low there. So the online education is very low. You see that literacy rate is high. You see that in the urban areas of the rest of the India, the internet connectivity at home is like 42%. Even in the rural areas, it is 15%. But the study has not been conducted in the northeastern states. So we do not even know that how much internet is there in the northeast. And because of this, the online education, the online education is declining there. But we need to speed that up. So for that, we have various not for specifically education, but we have initiatives like Act East India, like connect Mizoram with the southeastern state nations. So be it for trade or economy, but it will help in the education sector also. Apart from that, we can use one initiative by Google, which is Operation Loon. It is a broadband based internet connectivity which is provided in the remote areas. So that project can be used in the northeastern state to provide the internet for the online education. Okay, so now if any intern is left, they can raise their issues and suggestions if any.
Thanks a lot, Shraddha. I think that was a very valid point you raised, and of course, I don't think anybody had before, so it was, of course, very insightful. Rimshan, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, yeah. So a lot has been said already. What I want to particularly call out the climatic change. How is it uh, especially affecting the women? The effect on the women's education. So the adversely impact of climate change, such as the unpredictable floods and the droughts, have destroyed thousands of hectares of agricultural land of once prosperous farmers. Uh, um, it ultimately leads to the cut down in the income, and as a result of the decline of income, the women folks who are like basically the homemakers, they have to start working to supplement the family's income, as the families in the affected area, being the part of the patriarchal society, have asked their daughters to drop out of the school and to help supplement the family's income, because most of the time when such situation arrive, the women are asked to look after their home. So of course this affects the women education a lot. And lot has already been said, like what all policies are being implemented in those area, but I would like to highlight how just making the policy isn't enough. The implementation of the policy on ground is a very important step in the policy. So we need to look how it is impacting on ground, how it is being implemented on ground. It's a very important point. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Next up, we have Prem. Prem, please go ahead. And excuse me if I pronounce any names wrong.
No, bro, it's Prem.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So today I would like to talk about education landscape of Seven Sisters. So a lot of has been spoken. So I am talking about basically there's a lack of quality of teachers in Northeast because they're very diverse. For example, like in Assam, Meghalaya, there are a lot of tribes like Garo or Khasi. They are very linguistic and they're different dialects. So it's very hard to find teachers in same dialect. That's also one of problem North is facing. Another in term education is inaccessibility. For example, like in Arunachal, there is no train infrastructure to reach any places. The roads are in very bad conditions, and also like central government and like military also has lot of their thing going on. So the infrastructure also not developing. Like no, Arunachal has no flying zone, no civil plane can fly over there. That also affect inaccessibility, and every year there's a flood out there in month of monsoon. That also disturbs the education of children for like 2 or 3 months. That also this also main reason like some all other thing I already spoken, that I know I have nothing to add there.
That's fine, Prem. I think what you mentioned is insightful enough by itself. Megha, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Education is one of the most crucial ideas of socio-economic development. It is the quality of education that decides the quality of human resources of the country. So in our country, education is a concurrent subject basically. It comes under the purview of both the national and the state legislatures, and both the state and the national governments have the power to make laws on it. But regarding, first of all, the problems in northeast of India, I would like to say that the northeast of India is very much prone to the disasters, especially the gets disturbed whenever there is disaster. So there are many remote areas in northeastern India, which are like quite in scattered locations, especially in Arunachal Pradesh. So it makes learning difficult there. Also, like the whole India suffers from the problem of sufficient teacher to pupil ratio. So the northeast India, the condition is same. Also, if we see that central government has like less schools there in northeastern India, so the state government is more active there. Also, the problem of ineffective administration comes into play when we see uh, the level of education there. So what we need to understand is that the education system of northeast India is little different from the rest of India in terms of the academic session, curriculum structure, teaching learning method, language aspects, practical know-how, social behaviors, and psychological features. So unlike the CBSE or the ICSE boards, which follow the April-March academic year, most of northeastern Indian states follow the January-December academic session. So it is basically due to their own flexibility of climatic changes that are happening there. So basically, we see that a lot of central government schemes are not able to reach properly there. But many researchers and policymakers are saying that the NEP 2020, it is trying to make inroads into the state with its flexible curriculum, and also the flexibility in terms of language, which is very much important in northeastern India, because most of the teaching happens in their like local language, and people want to preserve their local heritage and their culture. So, and also regarding the higher education, some of the steps have been taken for improving the quality of higher education. That includes choice-based credit system. Universities with potential of excellence have been established. Centers with potential for excellence. Consortium for academic research and ethics care, that is basic science research. Uh, this scheme for transdisciplinary research for India's developing economy stride. Deen Dayal Upadhyay Kaushal Kendras, scholarship schemes are there, Ishan Uday for Northeastern region. So a lot is being done, but the problem remains the implementation on the ground. Uh, so talking about the inclusion of the females, or the dropout rates, or the inclusion of females as a whole in the education system, we see that two schemes that come to my mind are the Samagra Shiksha at the national level. Also, with the support of states, it has been like instrumental in increasing the enrollment rate of girls. So it was like effective from 2018 to 19 to support states and UTs in implementation of the Right to Education Act 2009. So it was basically, the aim was ensuring equity and inclusion at all levels of school education. And what was done basically, it was that stipends were given, separate toilets for girls were being constructed, teacher sensitization programs to promote girls' participation, gender sensitized teaching learning materials, including textbooks. So all this was done to make the education more inclusive there. Also, to reduce the gender gaps at all levels of school education, there's provision of Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalayas under Samaru Shiksha only. So basically, KGBs are residential schools from class 6 to 12th for girls belonging to disadvantaged sections, such as SC, ST, OBC, minority, and below poverty line. So basically, we see that to ensure the better learning in northeastern India, to ensure the inclusion of girls in the education system, many schemes have been like implemented. Many things have been brought in implementation at both central and state level. But we see that some of the places which are very remote, they have not been very included in that education system. Also, so there's a lot of problem in that. We need to understand. First of all, we need to accept that northeastern part of India is as much of India as the mainland India. So first, if we'll consider them as ours, then only we'll be able to understand their problem as ours. And when we do that, we'll include their problems in our policy making whenever we are going to, make another policies regarding education or anything in general. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Megha. Swarni, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. So as one of us had in the beginning mentioned the experience of one of our classmates from Northeast, even though qualified or UG, did not have the basic knowledge. So this also raises the question of quality of education in the Northeast. So in this context, there is a question of the training of teachers. So according to a data, for almost all the 7 states, around 60% of the teachers at the elementary levels are untrained. The course context of which they learn is outdated. That is all theoretical. They don't know how to actually interact with the students, and also the content or methodology is not revised as per the NCF guidelines or NCFT guidelines. The teachers are also not well aware or empowered enough with the ICT skills. So the teachers are not enough capable enough to interact with the ICT and digital equipment. So the students also face the similar issues. And there is also virtually no provision of continuous professional development of the teachers. So there is going on a vicious cycle of like the demand of the teachers is increasing due to the demand of education of the students, and thus as the demand of the teachers is increasing, the appointment of untrained teachers is going on. So there is a very big challenge of training of teachers as well, and other points have been covered.
Thanks a lot. Does anybody else have any points to add? Somebody who hasn't spoken yet, maybe? Okay, I'll see that's a wrap then. Thank you everyone for giving your views. And if someone joined late and was not sure if they could participate or not, please, anytime you join, you can always speak up. Keep that in mind for our next session. And again, thanks everyone for